Alrighty, so Decision Day 2021 in MLS is now over, and well, technically it has been over for the last couple of hours because did get back home around 6:30, and then I still had to basically watch a couple of the highlights of some of these games that I did not watch, and then put the notes on the board, and therefore I didn't get a chance to start this review until a couple of hours after the final game finish on Decision Day. Now, like I did for the preview, I'm going to be splitting the review in terms of Decision Day into two different parts. I'll first look at the Western Conference game because there's no doubt that if you ask me which conference create more of the pure chaos that happened on Decision Day, it has to be the Western Conference, because not only the fact that we definitely have a big surprise of who actually finished at the top of the standing in the freeway battle for the top spot in the West, but we had some late drama in terms of those playoff position, including the playoff position literally changed into stoppage time, and we'll also talk about one of this game that literally almost make me feel like I had a mini heart attack, and it feels like I basically aged about 10 years after I watched this game. But we begin with talking about the game that I've attended, and I'm actually going to start talking about the two games that really was kind of meaningless in the West coming into Decision Day. And one of them, of course, is between the Quakes versus FC Dallas, where, the result obviously doesn't matter because, as I mentioned, with really nothing to play for both of these teams, it doesn't matter if either of these teams or lose, they'll still get eliminated from playoff contention. But obviously the big story coming out of this game is actually what happened after the game. And this probably was the biggest kept secret that the Quakes have been want to made for a very long time. But even when this announcement was made, it was still relatively bittersweet. But early on in the first half, it seems like the Quakes, I thought they were determined to get Wando a goal, because every time when they go on the attack early, it seems like they always feed the ball to Wando. And, at that time, I didn't know that special announcement was going to happen at the end of the game where he announced his retirement. So I'm like, well, I guess, they're trying to give Wando maybe one last goal, but at the same time, it's also kind of interesting that maybe sometimes they don't need to just feed the ball to Wando and maybe look for another option, because I feel like Dallas kind of realized that, yeah, they're just going to feed the ball to Wando because they want that one special moment. And, most of the time they kind of almost double up Wando just to make sure that he doesn't, of course, get the goal. But eventually the Quakes kind of realized that, yeah, they can't just keep feeding the ball to Wando and hope eventually he does score a goal, and that, it would be maybe even better if they can give him a send-off with a win. So they finally started to maybe look at other options. There was a chance in the 19th minute when K-Cal went through on goal, but he missed that one high before Jimmy Mara did deny Wando in the near post. The Quakes, there was no doubt they were pressing for an early goal, and the shots were 8-0 in favor of the Quakes 26 minutes in. But then in the 31st minute, the moment happened, and it's Wando scoring from Lopez and Cal to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. That is Wando 171st and what turns out to be his last ever goal in his professional career. And not only the fact that was a great moment for Wando, but that was just so well worked for the Quakes. I mean, it's not often I've seen the Quakes play some beautiful soccer, but that was just textbook. I mean, with the way that they basically worked that one on the left, and then the cutback was played perfectly where Wando basically throughout his career that has been such a poacher like he is, he basically got into the right position to slot that one home to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. But unfortunately, that goal looked like it was in that lead was in serious jeopardy to quickly come to an end, because in the 38th minute, a penalty was given for Dallas after Vega brought down Obrian in the box. By the way, Daniel Vega was in net in this one, and when I saw his name in net, I knew that this was probably going to be an automatic elf for the Quakes, and I just wonder why exactly JT is not starting in this game. I mean, yes, I know it's a meaningless game, and, I guess maybe Almeida want to give some of his players a chance in this one, but Vega is probably not one of those players that maybe should deserve a chance. And, he of course, unsurprisingly, in the first involvement that he made, he kind of just shows you why, yeah, he is not well liked in the Quakes fan base, and why he's been behind JT all this time, as again he commits a foul there, bringing down Obrian in the box. Although I will say this, I did kind of look at the replay a couple of times, and I thought in some way maybe that was kind of harsh because Vega did come off his line to kind of catch that ball, but simultaneously he kind of bumped O'Brien in the box, and I guess maybe the referee feel like that was enough contact to award a penalty. But in the 39th minute, Pepe had a chance to score from the spot, but he struck the post. So I guess maybe that was just kind of one of those moments where ball don't line. And speaking of ball don't line, that won't be the only time I'm going to talk about in this review that definitely ball don't line in terms of a controversial penalty kick that was awarded. But nevertheless, right when that ball hits the post, the Quakes were on the other end on the counter attack, and Ibobasi almost scored there to make it 2-0. Like if he scored that one, that place was gonna erupt. Like I feel like when Ibobasi missed that stadium was just gonna erupt. And this was probably the best I've heard PayPal Park in this game, and it was even for me in this game, you can definitely see that these fans are still acting like there's playoffs up for grabs, and they are hungry to see their team get one more win. But unfortunately, in the 40th minute, Dallas eventually get the equalizer, and it's O'Brien scoring from Ferreira to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And that goal looked something very similar to the 2020 San Jose Earthquakes, where it feels like it's Almeida ball all over again, where they decided to overload the box with players, and one's of course they weren't able to win the initial corner. You knew what's going to happen. Dallas was going to go on the other end, and there was no man back to basically support that, and basically O'Brien just gone coast to coast on the other end and basically puts it into the back of net to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Though late in this one, Cal did have a chance to try to curl one in, but he just missed wide as we head to halftime with this game tied at 1 apiece. Now in the second half, Maurer absolutely robbed K-Cal, who had a big opportunity from close range. Chofis then puts it wide from the free kick as the Quakes have fought press early to get that lead back. Though Ferreira did win through and go, and he missed wide there before in the 68th minute. Paul Marie hits a 24-yard free kick straight to Jimmy Mao. And then on the other end, Tafari had a chance from close range, but he hits that one out. And then Shun had a chance from 17 yards out as he also puts that one high in the 81st minute. And also, this is kind of when I stopped really kind of watching this game, even though, of course, I was attending this one, because as I will talk about later, I started to really focus on these two games down the stretch. But the final score, of course, of this game is 1-1, and then, of course, at the end of this game, and I think throughout the game, the PA announcer even mentioned that, we should stay RC for a special announcement, and when I hear that, I knew that, yeah, it looks like it's the biggest keep secret that eventually is going to come out, and it did at the end of the game when Wando officially announced his retirement. So yeah, certainly congratulations to Chris Wondolowski of announcing his retirement, and for sure I'm definitely making a video talk about the career of Chris Wondolowski, and I might even make it as soon as tomorrow, because he is just such a legend for this Quakes team. And in some way, the way that he kind of gone out as a Quakes player kind of is just symbolize his time with the Quakes, because as much as he is such a legend to this team, you talk about how much we basically just wasted his career, and how it's just such a shame we never really give him a chance to win a championship, and have just time after time kind of let him down, because this was a game where I thought the Quakes should have won this one, and the stats basically backed that one up. They had 28 shots compared to 7 that Dallas had, 7 shots on goal compared to 1 that Dallas had, 9 shots off target compared to 4 that Dallas had, 12 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that FC Dallas has in this game. And again, in typical Quakes fashion, even in an emotional day where we see Wando retire, they had to let him down one more time for not to give him a win as he announced his retirement. But at least he does get his goal, and as I mentioned, his 171st career goal in MLS, what turns out to be his last one. And yeah, again, I'm definitely going to be making that video soon, talk about what an incredible career that Wando has, and there's no doubt that I think in these upcoming years, or maybe as soon as this off season, they definitely need to build a statue of Wando in front of PayPal Park. Like, I know they already named a street after them, but I don't think it justifies enough of how much what he means to this team, and that they need to immediately build that statue. And hopefully one day we'll also see him in the National Soccer Hall of Fame in the future. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, and that, of course, is going to be Portland versus Austin FC. So the Timbers, after what they saw in the first two meetings between Austin of how they were just getting absolutely slapped apart by by Los Verde, they thought that in this game they're going to return the favor. They're going to give Austin a little taste of their own medicine because this was just a one-way traffic game throughout the entire 90 minutes. Now, in the fourth minute, Chara had a chance to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead, but he was clear off the line by former Timbers player Julio Cascante. Bonilla then in the 10th minute hit one wide from close range in the 10th minute, and the Timbers, they were on the front foot early, looking to get that early goal, and they would get it in the 17th minute as Paredes would score from Blanco and Moreno to give Portland a 1-0 lead. Jimmy Chara then puts it wide from close range in this, and I think Chara didn't end up on the score sheet here, and I feel he definitely deserved a goal because he played really well in this one. It was all Portland early in this game. I didn't really get like the stats of it, but it was like maybe something like 9-0 in favor of the Timbers in terms of shots. Blanco then puts it wide from 10 yards down the 30th minute before Clark had to deny Fagundes, and that was really Austin's first chance of the game, but that first chance that Austin got, maybe that could give them some belief that, no. In the 45th minute, Nisgoda would score from Jimmy Chara to give the Timbers a 2-0 lead to cap off just such a dominant half that the Portland Timbers had in the first half. Now, in the second half, Nisgoda looked to try to score his second goal, but he missed that one wide before Stuvert had to deny Nisgoda, and then Moreno had a chance on the follow-up, but he missed that one wide. But 3 minutes later, it would be 3-0 in favor of the Portland Timbers as Blanco would score to make it 3-0 in this game. And at this point, you knew that this game was pretty much over. Fagundes did hits it straight to Clark in the 61st minute before Clark had to deny Kakuta Mane. And I think maybe the Timbers realized that this game is done, so they kind of put their foot off the gas a little bit and kind of invite Austin maybe some false hope that they can get themselves back into the game. But that being said, in the 77th minute, they almost made it 4-0. And like I said, Jimmy Chara, he played so well in this game that he definitely should have got a goal in this one. And he could have had it if it wasn't for the post getting in the way here. But in the end, the Timbers would win 3-0 in this one. And the shots in this one, 23 shots compared to 6 that Austin has. 10 shots on goal compared to 4 that Austin has. 8 shots off target compared to 1 that Austin has. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Austin has. And possession-wise, 39% possession compared to 61% possession that Austin has in this game. And for the Portland Timbers, this is a perfect way for them to get a win, even in a meaningless game in this one, where even if they get a win or lose, they still stay in 4th position. But at least they do have some momentum heading into the playoffs. Though that being said, the playoffs is not going to start until two weeks time, and this is also kind of where I said before, where because of how MLS works and how the postseason, it does take a while before it starts. It could be very interesting heading into the postseason and heading into the playoffs, whether or not if some of these teams that got momentum on decision day and they can basically carry that heading into the playoffs. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is the Rapids and LAFC. And the reason why I'm wearing the Colorado Rapids, and even though this is not a jersey but more like a t-shirt that I got from Fanatics a couple of years ago, the reason why I'm wearing the Rapids is that they won the West. And I don't think this is something that a lot of people saw coming in the beginning of the season, and certainly not even a couple of weeks ago, or maybe like a week ago, where yes, the Rapids technically was still in contention for the top spot in the West, but nobody thought that they would be able to do so on the final day. And especially the fact that with the Rapids winning the West, this is the only time that they actually are in the top spot in the West all season long. And it's fitting the fact that they won, throughout the season. Also kind of question about how, yes, the Rapids are getting a lot of points, but a lot of the reason why they've been kind of being very under the radar is because they haven't really had a lot of statement wins and having a lot of good performance. This one probably is that statement win, because this was probably the best performance that they have put all season, and probably in these last couple of years of this Rapids team, because they was just absolutely full in this game against LAFC. Though early on in this game, I thought LAFC did kind of show some fight, because you kind of forgot that in this kind of demolition that Colorado put against LAFC. That, you know, LAFC still had their playoff live up, or they have their playoff hopes in this game, and they're playing for playoffs. And early on, Yarbrough did had to deny Edwards from the free kick in the 15th minute, but then in the 17th minute, Lewis would score from Acosta and Wilson to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead, though 8 minutes later, Orengo unfortunately struck the post from close range. And, you know, early on, I thought LAFC were kind of the better team, and in some way, the goal that Jonathan Lewis scored was kind of against the run of play. And, you know, this is also kind of the reason why I said LAFC kind of continued to try to press for the goal. But then, speaking of post, in the 31st minute, Lewis had a chance to score his second goal, but he struck the ball from close range. I thought Lewis had a really good game in this one. And then in the 33rd minute, it would be 2-0 in favor of Colorado, as Connor Warner would score here to make it 2-0 in favor of the Rapids, and that is his first goal since March of 2017, and I believe this is only his 4th career goal in MLS. He's a guy that don't score very often, and in some way, when he scores, you know, it's a kind of a rare sight. And this was one that he basically just kind of strike into the traffic, and we've seen so many times when players strike from outside the range and into the traffic, you know, they're just gonna have to hope that maybe it took a deflection and it goes into the back net. But this one, it didn't even take a deflection. Like, somehow, in some way, this one just goes through everybody and goes into the back of net. But nevertheless, it was 2-0 in favor of the Rapids, and that has to be very deflating if you're LAFC, because up until that point, I thought they were kind of the better team. But in the 39th minute, Blackman did had to deny Mark Anthony Kaye from close range. You can see Mark Anthony Kaye, he was definitely determined to score a goal in this one and trying to score against his former team. But we do head to halftime with the Rapids leading 2-0. But in the second half, they would quickly make it 3-0, as in the 52nd minute, Jonathan Lewis would score his second goal from Rubio to make it 3-0 in favor of the Rapids. Dick Sporting Goods Park was definitely rocking. By the way, I think it was a sellout crowd for this game, and I think this is the first time that the Rapids actually had a sellout crowd for their home game, which is kind of a bit of a surprise, because for a team that is so good, you would expect Rapids fan, of course, will show up. And I've seen before where the Rapids, when they're decent, you know their fans are going to show up. But this season, it hasn't really been kind of the case, though. You know, this game, they definitely showed up, and they definitely had a lot to cheer about throughout this one. Though their party mode after that third goal kind of subsided in the 55th minute, as Chicho Ringo, who has been just such a lethal goal scorer and a guy that I mentioned many times that I think he's going to win the newcomer of the year. He scored here from Rodriguez and Edwards to make it 3-1 in favor of LAFC, as a little glimmer of hope that maybe LAFC can come back for this. Though Blackman did deny Mark Anthony Kaye from close range again in the 59th minute. And then in the 63rd minute, that hope that LAFC had for the playoffs was pretty much all gone, because the Rapids would restore their 3-goal lead, and it's Cole Bassett scoring here from Barrios to make it 4-1 in favor of the Rapids. And I actually was very happy to see Bassett on the score sheet, because, you know, we talk about this season how much he's been snake bit, but, you know, this time he's actually able to get into the score sheet, and it's actually not from a penalty spot, because I think the goal that finally ended his drought was from the spot. This time it's actually from open play, and it was a lovely kind of shot that he took from about 17 yards out. So yeah, that of course gives the Rapids a 4-1 lead up to that point, though it was almost 4-2 when Vela struck the post from 17 yards out. Despite looked like it was out of reach, LAFC, they were still trying to push to get one back, maybe set up a miraculous comeback in this one, and their road of that miraculous comeback kind of started in the 71st minute when Brian Rodriguez would score from Vela to make it 4-2 in this one. This one kind of took a wicked deflection off of Bait is short, and Yarbrough just could not quite keep that one out with the wicked deflection. I mean, on the first hand, I thought maybe Yarbrough should have done better there, because it looked like it kind of hit straight to him. But then on the second look, it looked like that definitely took a wicked deflection. And yeah, you know, when you took when a shot takes a wicked deflection like that, it's hard for goalkeeper to try to reset themselves and basically save that one. But in the 73rd minute, Acosta did try to bend one that goes wide, and then in the 74th minute, it's Esteves' turn to unfortunately struck the post. And, you know, the Rapids, even though they were on their way to get all 3 points in this game, they were still looking to try to get get more going just to make sure that they can potentially get that top spot. Because I think, in this game, they know that even though they're winning in this game, they cannot let off, considering that they had to win this one. And while under reserve definitely is going well for them to finish top spot, they was trying to try to get the 5th goal, and they would get the 5th goal in the 79th minute as Dominico Baggi would score from Beitashour and Bassett. Baggi, I mean, he has just been such a revelation for this Rapids team ever since he's come in, and for a guy that I thought this was just kind of for a nostalgia kind of signing that the Rapids had. He actually has a good impact, and he's starting to look like his old self when, remember when Baggi was such a lethal goal scorer for this Rapids team a couple of years ago? Well, it seems like he started to be that guy again, and again, that made it 5-2 up to that point. It could have been 6-2 if it wasn't for Acosta missing wide from close range, and then in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, Blackman did deny Estevez. Again, the Rapids, they were not stopping. They want to really make sure that they get all 3 points in this game, which in the end they were able to do so, as the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 20 that LAFC had, but 4 shots on goal compared to 9 that the Rapids had, 7 shots off target compared to 9 that LAFC had, 7 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Rapids had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that the Rapids has in this game. And, I mean, I don't think anybody saw this coming with the way that the Rapids somehow in some way were able to finish top spot in the Western Conference. Like, throughout the season, we've been always talking about whether it's Sporting KC and Seattle finish top spot, and with the Rapids, they just kind of got hot at the right time, and also with the way that both Seattle and Sporting KC kind of sputtering down the stretch, they got themselves into that top spot, and most importantly, they also get to go to CCL heading into next season, and also getting that bye. And again, I think this is a team that I know there's still going to be some people that is doubting whether or not if this team is for real, but I think when you look at this team, even without any true star or any real DP that kind of contribute to this team, it just shows you that this is kind of one of those teams that is just hardworking and always find a way to score goals. And a lot of that also has to give credit to Robin Fraser, who I think now you could even make the case that he could be the coach of the year. I mean, I know most likely Bruce Arena is going to win it because of what he did with the Revs, not only winning the Supporters Shield, but also getting the record for the most point in an MLS season. But you could definitely make a good case that Robin Fraser deserve that honor, because I know this season coming in, we knew the Rapids were going to be good, but we didn't think that they were going to be like a top contender. We think that maybe they're kind of like a mid-tier contender that will definitely get to the playoffs, but maybe they're going to get knocked down in the early rounds. But we never thought that they would be finishing at the top of the Western Conference, and again, a lot of that has to give credit to them, and also the job that Robin Fraser has really done, and that it seems like ever since he has come into this team, he has really turned around the fortune of this team. Where, remember a couple of years ago, this team was a bottom feeder? Yeah, no, I don't think anybody is thinking about that as the way that the Rapids have been playing these last couple of years. But now moving on, in terms of the next match. So with the Rapids, of course, finished the top spot in the West, that means unfortunately someone will have to miss out on that. And that someone, well, there's actually 2 teams that miss out on it, and one of them is the Seattle Sounders, who I think, as remarkable as the Rapids finished top of the West this season and basically only led the West on the final day of the season, I think it is even more remarkable the fact that the Seattle Sounders somehow find a way to finish second again. Like, the old saying, death, taxes, and stuff like that? It feels like it is death, taxes, and basically the Sounders finish second in the West every single season, because this is the 5th straight year that the Seattle Sounders have finished at second in the West, and yet, despite the fact that they finished second place in the West, they have gone to MLS Cup 3 out of their last 4 years. So, I guess they'll take it, even though they're not going to get the bye heading into the playoffs. I still think this could be a very dangerous team, and you should never bet against the Seattle Sounders when playoff time begin, and especially with Brian Schmetzer in the helm. But in this game, they did play against a red-hot Vancouver team, and this just shows that the Whitecaps, they are ready for playoffs. And I'll talk about in the next game why I think the team that they're going to be facing, which is Sporting KC, yeah, I think SKC should be really concern when they do play the Whitecaps heading into the playoffs, because they really showed that they can hang with the best team in the league. Though early on in the first minute, they almost made it 1-0, but Gutierrez fired one wide from close range, as I thought Vancouver was on the front foot. But unfortunately, in the 6th minute, they of course conceded a penalty after Dahomey basically handball that one, which Freddie Montero, the former Whitecaps player, was able to score from the penalty spot. And I was kind of interested to see whether or not if he actually decided to celebrate, and he actually did decide to celebrate, which certainly maybe annoyed a couple of Whitecaps fans, because Montero has been with the Whitecaps for well, but I would kind of argue the fact that, Montero actually has been with the Sounders longer than he is with the Whitecaps, and in some way, Montero, he's got kind of a guy that is a bit of a legend for the Seattle Sounders, being with this team ever since the inception when this team came into the league. But yeah, that gave, of course, the Sounders a 1-0 lead in that one, and they looked to make it 2-0, but Kellen Rowe hits one straight to Crepeau. But then 2 minutes later, the Whitecaps would equalize, and it's Ryan Gaul scoring from Brian White to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, White definitely had to pay the price for it, because as I think Stephen Fry kind of came off his line, or actually, was it Stephen Fry or was it a Sounders defender? Either way, he kind of got bloodied up as he was trying to redirect that one and give one of his teammates a chance to hit that one in, which Gaul was able to do so. And even though he had to pay the price for it, I think Brian White would take it, and of course that ties the game up at 1 apiece. Crepeau then absolutely robbed Montero from point blank range in the 25th minute, and then he had to deny Rodon, as the Sounders, they were definitely looking to try to push to get the lead back. Remember, them seeing the Colorado resort, they realized that they probably need to get a win in this one if they want to retain that top spot in the Western Conference. But we do head to halftime tied at 1 apiece, and heading in the second half, White, I thought he should have scored, and it is not often with how hot Brian White is that he missed this opportunity, but he missed a free header from about 4 yards out. Though there wasn't really much chances happening in the second half, and the next big chance happened in the 82nd minute, as the Whitecaps thought that they were able to take the 2-1 lead, and certainly Veselinovic thought that he score what could be the winner for the Whitecaps, as he hits one from a free header that is somehow clear off the line by Montero. And then in the 3rd minute of stoppage time on the other end, Crepeau absolutely robbed Montero from close range. And after that, there was kind of a bit of a scuffle between both of these teams. I mean, just a reminder that, since this is kind of like the forgotten Cascadia derby, both of these teams are definitely going to have a little bit of scuffle, and there's definitely there's going to be times where they're going to bicker at each other, but in the end, it didn't really resort too much. And in some way, I think eventually both teams realize that, yes, we're frustrated with what just happened there, but let's just try to cool our jets, because we definitely do not want to get a red card that could really impact the first round of playoff that we're about to enter. So yeah, in the end, it finished 1-1 in this one, and the shots in this one, 10 shots compared to just 5 that the Whitecaps had, 2 shots on goal compared to 4 that Seattle has. Both teams had 3 shots off target, 3 shots that was blocked, but none that the Whitecaps had. Possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that the Sounders has had in this game. And with this draw, the Whitecaps were able to make it to the playoffs. And as good as a feel-good story that we've seen the Rapids finish at the top of the West, you got to say the same thing about the Vancouver Whitecaps. I mean, what a year it's been. And, we know that it's been such a difficult year for them, knowing the fact that they haven't been at home for a majority of the year and have to play in Salt Lake City for some of their home games. And then eventually, when they finally got back home, you can start to see that this team not only was glad to be back home, but they really started to go on a run. And like I said, this is a team that I said before, I think this could be a dark horse team that could really surprise a lot of people, and is a team that I think you definitely do not want to face heading into playoff time. But unfortunately, there is going to be one team that has to play the Whitecaps in the playoffs, and that team is going to be Sporting KC, who coming into this game against RSL, they were very depleted. Like, it was announced that they suffer a ton of injuries, and I think a lot of that has to do with the way that you can definitely tell in that game against Austin, those players were absolutely spent. Like that was like the fourth game in 11 days, and knowing the fact that they had just so many games down the stretch, you knew injuries was potentially going to pop up, and especially with the way that Peter Vermees, as he always is, not rotating his squad and just kind of drive this team onto the ground. There was no surprise that they were very depleted, and there was a lot of players suffering from injuries coming into this game, and they better hope that in this 2 week spell those players are going to come back from injury, because when you look at this kind of version of Sporting KC team, yeah, I don't think this version is going to go far, and especially against a red hot team like the Vancouver Whitecaps, even if they're playing at home. But in this game against RSL, where RSL had to fight for their lives, for majority of the game, I thought RSL was done. Like, I didn't see how RSL was really kind of showing that urgency throughout the entire part of the game. I mean, they kind of show a little bit urgency late, but it just didn't look like they were going to score in this game, and it looks like it's going to end in a disappointing way. But in the end, somehow, in some way, they score a late goal to not only win this game, but make it to the playoffs with that goal. And you got to also say that this is probably the most dramatic way for a team to make it to the playoffs at the last second. Well, between this and what the Quakes did back in 2017, we remember how the Quakes score a goal in the 93rd minute. Obviously, I will never forget that Marco Arena goal that basically sent the Quakes to the playoffs. This was pretty much similar to that, with Krylak basically scoring a goal to send RSL into the playoffs. But in the first half, 2 minutes in, Shelton did miss wide from close range before Rubin missed wide in the near post in the 7th minute. Then Shaarawy puts it wide from close range as both teams started to get some chances on the attack. By the way, Daniel Shaarawy has really started to cool off after that hot start that he had during the summer, and this could be a little bit of a concern if you're Sporting KC, knowing the fact that well, I will say that as long as if they're gonna get some of their main attacking player like Pulido and Russell back into this team, I think they should be fine. But if they're gonna just rely on Shaarawy, the one that scores the goal, yeah, that's probably not going to work out well. But in the 38th minute, and actually fast forward to the 38th minute, because there wasn't really a lot of chances in this game, Menendez did miss wide from close range as we head to halftime scoreless in this one. And then in the second half, Ochoa denied Shaarawy as on the follow-up. Martins were looking to try to give Sporting KC the opening goal, but he hits one straight to Ochoa. Then Shaarawy hits one straight to Ochoa again in the 62nd minute. And, after that, just like the first half, chances was kind of limited, and it just feels like this was a game between two teams that they just kind of want to get at it here. Like, for Sporting KC, knowing how tired they are playing their playing their 5th game in the last 14 days, they just want to get out of here and hope that there's not going to be any more injuries, especially the one that they developed. And then for RSL, after that deflated 3-0 loss at home against the Portland Timbers, you just feel like they just want to kind of end the season right now. And almost I feel like a lot of RSL fans are just hoping that the clock will wind down and just kind of put the misery out of what just looked like it was a very, very frustrating way to end their season. But that being said, Milia did had to deny Merrim from long range in the 72nd minute, and as time really winds down, RSL did try to push late for a opener, but it was kind of half-hearted in some sense that definitely didn't look like they really have the might to get that opening goal. Though Sporting KC themselves had a chance to do so in the 85th minute, as Duke had a chance to give SKC the opening goal and potentially win it, but he puts that one wide after he goes through on goal. And as the time winds down, it looks like this was going to end in a scoreless draw, and looks like this was also going to be the only game that ends in a scoreless draw. But then in the 96th minute, Damir Krylak would score from Merrim to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL. And as good as this goal that Krylak scored, what an assist this is from just Merrim. I mean, this was a bicycle kick that he basically attempted, and I think I'm not sure maybe if that one was going to go in if Krylak didn't touch it. Well, actually, I think Melia would have saved that one because it wasn't really hit hard with that bicycle kick attempt. But the fact that he even tried that and actually set up his teammates to score, that is just an absolutely incredible acrobatic kind of way. But in some way, that goal not only saved RSL the season, but it's a goal to send them in the playoffs. As in the end, they get a dramatic 1-0 win in this one, and the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 12 that Sporting KC had, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that RSL had, 10 shots off target compared to 4 that Sporting KC had, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that RSL has in this game. And like I said, for RSL, it looked like they were dead and buried, but somehow in some way, they found a way late in the game. Which, by the way, another thing that I've mentioned before, and this is something that I should give RSL more credit, is that this is a team that also showed a lot of resilience throughout this season in terms of scoring late goals. Because I think there was one of the game, I think they mentioned that RSL actually have scored the most goal compared to anybody past the 80-minute mark. So this is a team that knows how to score late goals and score some clutch goal late, and they did it once again in this one to get themselves in the playoffs. But with them do score a late goal in this one, that means that moving on into the next game between the Galaxy versus Minnesota, where, by the way, coming into this one, a lot of people have said that this is kind of like an elimination game, and in some way, you kind of had a sense that one of these teams was not going to make it by the end of the 90th minute. But with how this game kind of went, and with also how this one goes, it looked like both teams was going to make it. Like, as we head into stoppage time, it looks like at this point, both of these teams was going to make it to the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure both fan bases are going to be happy about that. But then, yeah, like I said, RSL scoring the late goal, it changed everything. And then in stoppage time, that's when, yeah, let's just say that I basically aged 10 years after seeing that stoppage time, and that was probably the longest 5 minutes I've ever had to endure watching a Minnesota game ever in my life, and probably even longer than when they, of course, lost in the Western Conference final against the Seattle Sounders back in December. But early on, the Loons, I thought they didn't look like they were set up to just kind of bunker, which this was kind of the thing that I was really concerned coming into this game, because knowing Adrian Heath and knowing how he knows that all the Loons need is a draw to win to make it to the playoffs, he's going to try to just bunker in and hope for the best. But they didn't do that, and in some ways was kind of encouraging that they didn't do that, because they were really going after this Galaxy defense. Lerm missed high from long range in the 8th minute before Reynoso tried to chip upon there, but he missed that one badly. I think he was trying to chip him from about like 40 yards out, but he just completely hit that one. But there was no doubt that Minnesota was the better team, and they were rewarded in the 21st minute when Adrian Hunou would score from Métanire to give Minnesota a 1-0 lead. Now, they did originally disallow this goal, and originally I thought it was all offside too, because, when I look on the original angle, it definitely looked like it was going to be tough to try to overturn it, but VAR actually overturned that one, and the Loons, of course, gets the 1-0 lead. And also, before that, I also thought that Métanire took way too long to basically play that fruit ball to Hunou. Like, I thought that was just, like, he should have released that one sooner for Hunou to just go in on goal. But nevertheless, it didn't really matter, because VAR basically overturned the original call, and the Loons were leading 1-0 in this one. Could have been 2-0 just 5 minutes later when Reynoso had a chance from 17 yards out, but he puts that one high. I thought there was a lot of giveaway from this Galaxy defense, especially in the midfield. And this Galaxy defense in this game pretty much just sums up why this team has always been having some defensive issue, where, again, this defense basically didn't show up in this one. They were just leaving so much gap for this Loons team to exploit on the other end. But that being said, in the 31st minute, Miller did had to make his first save as he denied Cabral there. But then 3 minutes later, Robin Lod would score from Boxo and Dibasi to give Minnesota a 2-0 lead. Again, this one was coming from the corner, and one that the Galaxy did not deal with it very well from the set piece. And yeah, Minnesota in dreamland leading 2-0 in this one. But then right on the stroke of halftime, where, I've talked about many times before, where I really hope that this team can get to halftime with just holding on to the lead and not concede a goal, because when you concede a goal late, that is not going to go well. And especially with this team, I've seen time after time this season, when they concede late goals, things are going to go badly in the second half. And would you know it, in the 44th minute, after Leggett basically scored this one from Cabral and Rivalison to make it 2-1 in this one, it almost was 2-2 if it wasn't for Miller basically denying Chicharito there. Miller, I thought in this game, he did have that one bad moment that I'll talk about, but for most part, he was relatively good in this game, and you could maybe even say that he kind of saved the Loons or the Loons season and basically propelled them into the playoffs, making some big save down the stretch. But I also wrote after that, they need to get to halftime. Like, I can definitely see this team was imploding, and I'm just hoping in the second half, Adrian Keefe basically will tell his guy that, look, this game is far from over. You cannot just, implode right now. And after all the good work we've done in the first half, is going to be undue heading into the second half. But unfortunately, it seemed like the team didn't get that memo, because in the second half, they did implode. In the 51st minute, Chicharito would score from Araujo and Vasquez to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And at that point, I realized that, the Galaxy not only has all the momentum, but it's a matter of time before the Loons are going to concede that third goal, and they're going to find themselves 3-2 down. So, to my biggest surprise, not only that did not happen, but they actually took the lead back. In the 62nd minute, it was Araujo, the one that unfortunately scored an own goal. It was a beautiful delivery ball from Reynoso there on the flank, but I definitely did not see this one coming with the way how Minnesota was looking like they were imploding, that all of a sudden they have the lead back here. But I'll definitely take it, though that lead didn't last very long, because in the 75th minute, Chicharito would tie the game up again, and this was not a good goal to concede for Tyler Miller, and this was really the one that makes me very frustrated about Tyler Miller, who, down the stretch, he has not looked good whatsoever, and I am actually really concerned about that, because, as good as Miller has been for majority of the years, with how poor of a form he has been, he might eventually cost us a chance even if we go into to make it to a playoffs. Like, I can sense that there's going to be one goal that he sloppily allowed, and that would basically cost our chance to move on into the next round. But here, he of course, this one was kind of Chicharito hitting straight toward him, and he just could not pair that one out. So the game was all tied at 3 apiece, and while this wild game was happening, actually, after around this moment where I talk about how I kind of stopped kind of paying attention to it, because I saw how this game was getting wild, and I was also especially paying attention to this game and hope that Sporting KC to take the lead at 1-0, because I had a feeling that the Loons would start to implode again. Though in the 76th minute, Reynoso did puts it wide from 24 yards out, and then in the 88th minute, a penalty was given to Minnesota as William basically handballed it in the box. Now, I don't think that was a handball. I think that actually hits off of the actually it's not really the shoulder, but more like the hips of Williams. I mean, it kind of did caught his hands a little bit, but his hands was tucked in with his hips, and I feel like that was a really harsh handball call in the box, and a penalty that was given to the Loons. But nevertheless, they have a chance to maybe put this game away and secure themselves into the playoff spot, but Fragapane had other ideas. He missed the penalty here in the 89th minute, and again, I guess maybe that's just the ball don't lie in terms of the fact that, it shouldn't have been a penalty in the first place, and it did. In the end, karma kind of started to smack back at the Loons. But at the same time, I also kind of question why Fragapane was the one that takes the penalty. Like, I originally thought that maybe Reynoso was subbed out, so that's why Fragapane was taking penalty duty, but Reynoso was still on the pitch, so why in the world did they decided to have the most crucial penalty of the season, and they decided to go with a guy that is not the designated penalty kick taker? So the game was tied up at 3 apiece, and literally just 1 minute after that penalty kick missed, RSL, of course, scored the winning goal. So all of a sudden, this game was basically an elimination game, because whoever scores the next goal is pretty much going to win this one. And I'm also kind of wrote that, with RSL scoring, there was definitely some nervous energy for both of these teams, and also the 25,000 that was inside the stadium. By the way, the atmosphere for this game was absolutely electric, and now I might feel like I regret not actually attending this one, but you can definitely tell as soon as they found out that RSL were able to get get the 1-0 lead and eventually win the game, that energy started to really get nervous because they know that the Galaxy is going to be out of the playoffs if they do not score this next goal and win this game. And this is also when I'm starting to kind of age 10 years because of how I was just basically holding on my breath for the last 5 minutes and hope that this team don't blow it like they did against Seattle in the Western Conference Final. But they almost did it in the second minute of stoppage time when Sasha Kljestan hits a strong shot, but Miller was able to gather that one. Before in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Cabral basically hits one straight to Miller. And then finally, in the 7th minute of stoppage time, probably the most relief thing happened in this game, which is the final whistle. And that's when basically I can breathe again, because I think maybe some people even had to ask me if I was okay in the stadium, because I was just so nervous. And in fact, after I breathed, I was actually kind of shaken after this game. And usually I don't get that kind of feeling unless it's something that is kind of extreme. This was one of those reasons, because with this draw, Minnesota not only was able to make it to the playoffs, but they get the 5th seed and hold on to the playoffs, and they knock the Galaxy out in the process. And in fact, after this decision day, both LA team is out of the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure the MLS media is definitely in the mud after seeing that happen. But in terms of shots in this one, 21 shots for the 16 that the Galaxy had, 10 shots on goal for the 3 that Minnesota has, 10 shots off target for the 3 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 8 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And I know there's going to be a lot of Loons fans that's going to complain of how this result goes, and I can also kind of agree with the fact that I still don't have a lot of confidence about this team heading into the playoffs, especially with the way that I know this team can do well, but there's just so many times this team frustrates me of the fact that they don't live up to that potential. And there's just been so many underachieving that has gone on with this team. That is kind of the reason why they had to head into this situation where they just barely make it to the playoffs. But at the end of the day, I just think that in these kind of circumstances, I think you just happy with the fact that in the end they were on the right side of a resort, and that they make it to the playoffs. And who knows, maybe when the playoffs does start, things are going to be different, and eventually maybe there's going to be players on this team can finally live up to their potential and not kind of underachieve. But we'll see if that, of course, is the case. But for the Galaxy, yeah, this is another decision day, and it seems like they have been having a lot of those lately, where it's another decision day where it ends in heartbreaks. And this game was the reason why they missed out on the playoffs, and they weren't able to get the win in this game wasn't because the offense was bad. I mean, the offense was great. Like, Chicharito was literally trying to bail this team out once again. But the biggest problem with this team that has been a problem for this team for the past couple of years is the defense. I mean, the defense was absolutely atrocious in this game by the Galaxy. And in some way, if it wasn't for that high-end talent on the attack that kind of bailed them out, they probably wouldn't have gone into this situation where they had a shot to win it in the end. And at the end, I think that backline's gonna have to apologize to the entire team of how such a shameful performance that they kind of put in this game that ultimately resort them to getting eliminated from playoff contention on the very final day. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 6 of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 6 of these games, and what do you think about some crazy action that happened in the Western Conference decision day? Like I said, I feel like the Western Conference, there was so much more chaos than what we saw in the East. Now, that being said, I'm not saying the East was kind of boring in terms of decision day, but I don't think in the Eastern Conference there was actually like a last-second change for the playoff spot, and especially there was like a freeway battle for the top spot in the West. But speaking of that, I of course will do the review of the Eastern Conference once I finish recording this video. In fact, I still have to watch the highlights of some of these games in the Eastern Conference too before I do that review. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys see a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time with another Sports Talk series episode.